So, no secret, I've been in a bit of a slump lately. The immediate beginning of 2026 didn't go so great. The kids that I nanny for both got sick. Then immediately I got sick, and then my boyfriend got sick. So it's been a bit of a struggle these days. So the past week has not been as much fun as I'd like it to. But then again, December wasn't so great either. So there was that. So I've been trying to, clear my head and ask myself the bigger question. Not just the 2026 question, but like the long term future questions, not the immediate pressure, more so like the long term pressure, which I think is better than expecting me to know all the answers just in 2026. So today I want to talk about the who. The who I am, the who you are, you know, the who that makes me great and the who that makes me not so great. So I've been stuck lately. Not in a dramatic way, not in a crisis, but just suspended. Like I'm standing in my own life, but I'm not stepping forward. And I realize I've been asking the wrong questions. What should I be doing now? Where should I be heading now? How do I make this all make sense right now? But I skipped something more basic first. I skipped something harder. I skipped the who. Who am I? Who am I when I'm at my best? Who am I when I'm at my worst? Because if I don't understand that, then everything else is just noise. When I'm at my best, life feels surprisingly quiet. Not empty, quiet in a way a room feels when you finally turned off the buzzing appliance that you didn't even know was bothering you. At my best, I'm not rushed. I'm not performing urgently. I'm not trying to keep up with a version of myself that only really truly exists in my head. Because I am the greatest version when I'm functioning at 100%. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious about people, about moments, about the strange little contradictions that show up, in everyday life. At my best, I notice things. Not big flashy things, but like small ones. The way someone hesitates before laughing, the irony in a situation that's supposed to be serious, the humor hiding inside something that otherwise is uncomfortable. And when I notice these things, I feel a pull to almost like translate them, to say, hey, look at this. This matters. Not because it's profound, but because it's honest. When I'm at my best, creating feels like play, not like productivity, not like output, like a kid with a brand new toy. I follow ideas because they're interesting to me, not because they're useful or popular. I trust my instincts without a beat and with clarity, not confusion. I feel like I'm participating in life instead of observing from a distance. And that's who I am when I'm at my best. But I have not been functioning at my best lately. And I think I don't like to admit that my worst self doesn't look that different than my best self. And I'm not sure whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. When I'm at my worst, I'm still observant, I'm still creative, and I'm still thinking deeply. But it turns inward in a way that's sharp and judgy instead of useful. At my worst, I overthink the doorway and then never step into the room. I plan, I revise, I reframe. I tell myself I'm waiting for clarity, but what I'm really looking for is permission to move forward as this imposter. I mistaken preparation for progress, and I convince myself that thinking about doing something counts as doing it. At my worst, I distract instead of finishing. I start new ideas because I literally can't complete the old ones. Not because I don't care, but because finishing is literally impossible. At my worst, I outsource my sense of worth to timelines, to metrics, to to-do lists I'll never complete. I notice every flaw, every hesitation, every misbeat. Awareness without kindness becomes interrogation, right? It's not insight anymore, it's punishment. And I disconnect from my body and I just live in my head. Energy stalls, creativity dries up, and not because it's gone, but because I don't feel safe. Here's the thing I'm starting to understand, and it took me way too long to see it. My worst self isn't broken. It's not lazy. It's not a failure. It's my best self operating without support. The creativity that brings me flow turns into complete chaos. That same awareness that usually helps me see clearly turns into self-criticism. And that new toy that I just opened, it needs batteries, and I don't have them. So nothing about me needs to be fixed. I guess I just need batteries. I guess a lot about my life just needs to be structured differently, because when there's play without pressure, I thrive. And I think that's normal for most people. When I'm connected instead of comparing, I show up. So I'm not trying to reinvent myself. This is not, 2026, new year, new me. I'm not into that. And I'm not chasing some hyper optimized version of me that'll never exist. I'm trying to do something quieter, something a bit smaller, something more honest. I'm trying to build a life that makes it easier for the best version of me to show up. More honest, more consistently, without fear. And maybe that's the real work. Not becoming better, but becoming more supported. If you're watching this and any of this feels uncomfortably familiar, maybe you're not lost either. Maybe you're just trying to remember who you are when you're allowed to be at your best. So, to say the least, I'm a bit lost and in desperate need of a bit of a restart after a pretty crappy start to 2026. My brain is all over the place. My perimenopausal hormones are all out of whack. I'm just in a temporary state of ick. And I've been so fixated on the solution, hyper fixated on what needs to change, that I haven't allowed myself to just stop, think, reflect, and admit that something is wrong. But maybe if I start to give myself some grace, the solution will start to become clearer. But I am a firm believer that clarity and self-care and revival all begin with a healthy diet. And that's something that I can obsess over, but also feel good about. So tell me who you are on your best and worst days. Who are you when you're able to give 100%? And who are you when you can barely give 10? And what's your plan? what's your game plan to try to stick to the higher ground and not the lower ground? I'm just curious because you know, I'll take any advice right now. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see me try to get through the rest of January, like and subscribe. I hopefully will have a lot more insight going forward. Not really sure where I'm going to get that insight from, but you know, like I said, time and grace. And Molly. She's so pretty. Hi, baby. Have a good day, guys. If you want to stick around, like and subscribe.